I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. Please stay tuned to the end so you can understand why I'm reading this. It's about Major General Charles Calvin Rogers. This is his Medal of Honor citation. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers, Field Artillery, distinguished himself in action while serving as commanding officer, 1st Battalion, during the defense of a forward fire support base. In the early morning hours, the fire support base was subjected to a concentrated bombardment of heavy mortar, rocket, and rocket-propelled grenade fire. Simultaneously, the position was struck by a human wave ground assault, led by sappers who breached the defensive barriers with Bangalore torpedoes and penetrated the defensive perimeter. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers, with complete disregard for his safety, moved through the hail of fragments from bursting enemy rounds to the embattled area. He aggressively rallied the dazed artillery crewmen to man their howitzers, and he directed their fire on the assaulting enemy. Although knocked to the ground and wounded by an exploding round, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers sprang to his feet and led a small counterattack force against an enemy element that had penetrated the howitzer position. Although painfully wounded a second time during the assault, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers pressed the attack, killing several of the enemy and driving the remainder from their positions. Refusing medical treatment, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers reestablished and reinforced the defensive positions. As a second human wave attack was launched against another sector of the perimeter, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers directed artillery fire on the assaulting enemy and led a second counterattack against the charging forces. His valorous example rallied the beleaguered defenders to repulse and defeat the enemy onslaught. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers moved from position to position through the heavy enemy fire, giving encouragement and direction to his men. At dawn, the determined enemy launched a third assault against the fire base in an attempt to overrun the position. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers moved to the threatened area and directed lethal fire on the enemy forces. Seeing a howitzer inoperative due to casualties, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers joined the surviving members of the crew to return the howitzer to action. While directing the position defense, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers was seriously wounded by fragments from a heavy mortar round which exploded on the parapet of the gun position. Although too severely wounded to physically lead the defenders, Lieutenant Colonel Rogers continued to give encouragement and direction to his men in the defeating and repelling of the enemy attack. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers' dauntless courage and heroism inspired the defenders of the fire support base to the heights of valor to defeat a determined and numerically superior enemy force. His relentless spirit of aggressiveness in action are in the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the U.S. Army. Army Major General Charles Calvin Rogers is the highest-ranking Black service member to receive the Medal of Honor. Last Friday, Trump's Department of Defense took this history down from the Department of Defense website. The page address, if you tried to find it, included the words DEI Medal of Honor. This page has since been restored, but I, as a veteran of the 101st Airborne Division, have a message for anybody who still supports the Private Bone Spurs and his racist Secretary of Defense. Go straight to hell and burn there for all eternity. You are not worthy of the freedom General Rogers bled for you to have. Folks, this is Fascism 101. Erase and devalue the history of anybody who doesn't fit the white male description. They also took down references to Colin Powell, our first Black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a man I would have supported over the re-election of Bill Clinton if he had run. I encourage content creators to single out the women, people of color, and LGBT members who have done great things for our country and make videos educating the world about them. Fight fascism by refusing to let the fascists rewrite history. And for those of you who are wondering, that's my National Defense Medal. Good day.